Hey, it's Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and welcome to the Black Belt Leadership Podcast, where each week I'm giving you tips, tools, insights, and resources to help you become a better version of who you are and what you do as you discover, develop, and deploy your own Black Belt Leader within. Hey, this week I want to talk about preparing for seasonal change. And I want to start with bragging on an incredible area that we've got just north of Hot Springs called the North Woods. Now, if you're not familiar with the North Woods, well, if you follow me on Facebook and you see my dogs and I taking hikes out there, you've gotten familiar with the North Woods. But here's what I can tell you about the North Woods. It is a 2,000-acre tract of land that sits just north of Hot Springs, Arkansas. It sports over 30 miles of crisscrossing trails, and it sits at the base of the Ozark National Forest. Now, the North Woods is very popular with hikers, trail runners, and cross-country bicycling enthusiasts who come in mass throughout the year to enjoy the incredible opportunities that the North Woods has to offer. Now, the rolling hills of the North Woods offers elevation changes of up to 500 feet with the rolling hills that you've got an opportunity to hike or ride or climb. The area also sports three lakes, Lake Bethel, Lake Dillon, and Lake Sanderson, as well as pavilions and playground areas near two of the trailheads. Now, I recently took one of my dogs, Armani, for a hike in the North Woods, and while we were there, we were treated to an amazing palette of nature on display. The changing of the seasons was well underway here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. That morning when we went for a hike, I can tell you the air was brisk, the wind was cool, and the leaves were in full color change mode. I'm talking brilliant oranges, yellows that just stood out almost like blocks of gold. Reds and pinks and purples lit up the landscape as the sun was coming up and as it illuminated this incredible forest landscape. It was something incredible to experience. Now, it was the end of one season, but it's the beginning of another. So let's pivot and let's talk about the science behind the seasons, and that's going to lead into today's personal growth and leadership conversation. You know, in the fall, if you study horticulture, grass and trees take a break from growing. The sap begins to withdraw from the leaves and the branches, and it collects in the roots, storing nutrients for the long, long winter months ahead. And as a result of the sap leaving and the air around it cooling, the sun not rising as high in the sky, during this process, photosynthesis ceases to take place in the leaves. And what happens? As the leaf begins to die off, it begins to reveal the true colors that had been hidden behind the green chlorophyll that you see throughout the spring and the summer. And the true color is revealed shortly before these leaves detach from the limbs and fall to the earth. Now, the falling leaves serve as a natural fertilizer. It improves soil fertility in the process. And as the leaves decompose, they release essential nutrients back into the soil. My dad, who was a composter when he was gardening earlier in his life, he told me that he loved to gather up the leaves and to mix that into his compost because it would enrich the soil of his garden with organic matter. And he told me something interesting I've never forgotten, and I thought it was fascinating. He said, John, what's been drawn from the earth during the prime growing months is now being returned to the earth during the composting season of fall and winter. You know, my thoughts immediately went to the movie The Lion King and the Circle of Life, and what we're witnessing there is an amazing cycle of replenishment, a circle of life that takes place every single year in forests around the world as the leaves fall to the ground and they prepare the ground to feed the tree and the plants and the grasses what they're going to need to grow for the next season of life. Now, during the winter, the rain and the snow also come, and what do? They provide needed moisture to help break down the compost. It breaks down the compost into those nutritional compounds that is absorbed into the water and later absorbed into the roots of the trees and the plants and the grasses in the next growing season. Now, snow in particular acts like a slow release fertilizer. It helps to release nitrogen, potassium, and magnesium back into the soil. But I learned recently that snow, as cold as it is, also serves as an insulator. and it protects the trees from high and sharp fluctuations in temperature. All of these functions taking place are preparing the ground and the plants for one thing, and that's what's next. Think about it. In life, as in nature, seasons change. Now, think about your journey, my journey, our journey as human beings. We have been on seasons of change from the moment you and I were born. Infancy, we start as infants, and that gives way to adolescence. Adolescence gives rise to the teen years and really the preteen years before the teen years. But after the teen years, we step into young adulthood and later into full adulthood. We enter our working years. For many of us, we get married and we raise a family. And then our kids grow up, they leave the house, they go out on their own, and they leave us as empty nesters. We transition from our working years into retirement, enjoying, as PBS commentator and economist Tom Hegna says, we enjoy our go-go years, our slow-go years, and our no-go years, and eventually we experience the empty nester syndrome a second time when one of the significant others in a household passes away, leaving one as a widow or a widower. And eventually you and I leave this earth to go to our heavenly reward, and our bodies go back to the dust from which they came. Now, again, we go through seasons when it comes to education. We started learning at our mom and dad's feet, and we began to learn to read and write. We learned our colors. We learned how to dress ourselves and feed ourselves. And all of these basic skills we're going to carry through our lives started at the feet of our mom and dad. And then from there, we enrolled in kindergarten, and after that, we graduated to elementary school. And then from there, we transitioned to middle school, and then junior high, and then high school. And then there's the fork in the road that we all face. Some of us go to college. Some of us go to technical school. Still others of us are going to enter the workaday world. And a few of us still hadn't figured out what we're going to do after we get out of high school. And I guess that's okay. But again, what are we seeing? One season giving way to another in this endless circle of life. But with each and every season that you and I find ourselves in, what is happening is this. It is a preparing ground, forging the way for the next season that's coming our way. It is an opportunity for us to learn, to grow, to mature, and to prepare ourselves for what's next. And just as summer follows spring, winter follows the fall, we too are going to experience seasonal change in our lives. And the question that you and I have got to answer as black belt leaders in life is what we're going to do right now with the season that you and I are in. So let me pose this question, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Do we make the most of the time that we've been allotted in this season of life right now so that you and I are being prepared for what's next? Or do we squander the opportunity this season is presenting to us right now in this moment to learn, to grow, and to improve, and to get ready for what's next? Now, the seasons of our life are going to change whether we like it or not. Nobody's yet figured out how to stop the aging process. And as long as we're getting older, we're going to go through seasons of change. So the question that you and I've got to answer in each and every season is whether we're taking the most of the opportunity that's presented before us to prepare for seasonal change. Now, many of you know I'm a martial artist, and in the martial arts world, you begin the journey of seasonal change as a white belt. You are a novice lacking in wisdom and understanding in learning how to perform and live out what it means to be a martial artist. And then you begin to train under the leadership and guidance of a seasoned master instructor, someone who is at a different season in life than you. And as you progress through the ranks, what are you doing? You're continually preparing for what's next. You're learning new techniques, you're learning new applications, you're learning new movements, and how to put them all together so that when it is testing time, you've got an opportunity to show up and to show out. Each step in the journey to black belt is marked by perpetual and continual preparation. Now, the process, at least in traditional martial arts, is slow. You don't go from white belt to black belt overnight, not in a traditional school. And you realize early on, or at least you better learn early on, that the focus should not be on how fast you can go from white belt to black belt, but how much you can learn on the journey from white to black. The lessons learned in one season, in one belt rank, are going to help prepare you for what you need to learn and to build upon in the next season, the next belt rank, and then the seasons that follow. Each season, each belt builds upon the previous, giving you the opportunity to go higher, farther, and faster. Now, understand what I just said. Each season creates a foundation that you build upon in the subsequent seasons. And if each season serves as a foundation that you're going to build upon, it's important that you build that foundation as firmly as possible. Because if you want to go far, if you want to go high, the foundational lessons you're going to learn in each season of life needs to be firm and solid and able to support the weight of the seasons that are going to follow as you build upon the next season of life with what's next for you. And sadly, if you fail to master the concepts and principles in each season of the journey, you're going to limit how far and how high you're going to have the opportunity to build upon and go on into the future. And more importantly, at least in the martial arts, if you fail to prepare for the next season, then guess what? You get to repeat the same season one more time. Promotion is not guaranteed. It's earned. And even when you get your black belt, there's still more to learn. Many people have the misconception that when you earn your black belt, you have arrived and there's nothing more to learn. But in traditional martial arts, the black belt is not a symbol you've arrived. It is a symbol that you are now a serious student, only now open and willing, having proven your dedication and your commitment to the arts to learn what it truly means to be a martial artist. You're going to relearn everything you learned, but at a deeper and more meaningful level once you get to black belt and go from first degree to second to third and to fourth, as you find yourself on this perpetual pursuit of black belt excellence. And that pursuit is ongoing both in the dojo and in life. Because as a black belt leader, what are you doing? You are always preparing for what's next. You know, think about it this way as you think about your career phases in life. Your early career is usually marked by you building your reputation, you proving yourself as an individual worthy of leading other people. You begin to gain mastery over your craft, profession, or trade as you learn and begin to master the strategies and techniques and applications of whatever it is you're going to be doing with your time, your talent, your skill, and your ability. In this early phase of your career, you're taking on new responsibilities, you're building critical relationships, and you're gaining necessary experience to help you not only lead yourself, but begin to lead others. And that season leads into the next season of your life, that middle phase of leadership. That's where you find yourself not leading individuals, but now you're leading teams. Now you're driving innovation, and now you're helping the organization achieve results by striving and putting together and leading high-performance teams that are focused on getting the win. You're going to find yourself in this middle role of leadership, mentoring and training other people. You're going to be taking on new roles. You're going to be taking on expanded roles of leadership. And when you do, you're going to be dealing with even more difficult challenges and decisions and more difficult people problems. But all along the way, you're still doing what you did in the first season of your career. You're still learning. You're still growing. You're still building trust and rapport with people, but you're creating wins for yourself, wins for your team, wins for your organization, and wins for the customers and clients that you serve. Now, this middle season is eventually going to give way to the next season of what I call your master season of leadership in your career. At this point, you're going to find yourself leading an organization. You're going to be mentoring and consulting other people. You're going to have the opportunity to serve on corporate boards, and you're going to see and seize opportunities to give back to your community in some way. You're going to be in this season of life equipping and training the next generation of leaders who are going to one day take your place, even as you're getting ready to transition into your next, what's next for you phase of your personal, professional, and financial life. And in that, you've got to be aware of the key things that you need to be focusing on as you're preparing for seasonal change. So, as I get ready to wrap up today's teaching, I want to give you 5 areas that you need to be focused on as you are preparing for seasonal change. Number 1, growth and development. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and as long as I'm doing this podcast and writing newsletters and teaching content and speaking at conferences and training in organizations, I'm going to say this over and over and over. Leaders are lifetime learners. A black belt leader understands there is no finish line. You and I are going to spend the rest of our lives learning, improving, growing, and getting better at who we are and what we do. This is what I refer to as the relentless pursuit of black belt excellence. It's ongoing because you can only be as good as you are today. And if you strive to become a little bit better tomorrow, excellence is going to improve tomorrow. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about doing the very best you can with what you have at your disposal right now. But understand, black belt excellence is ongoing because there's always something more to learn. There's always something more to improve on. Black belt excellence is an evolutionary process where each day you and I strive to become a little bit better than we were the day before. Now, the second area of focus preparing for these seasonal changes is adaptability. Successful leaders are going to adapt to changing conditions and challenges that they're going to experience all through their career. They understand the status quo has great power and wants to get them to a point that they settle where they are as they are, and at that point remain unchanged. So leaders are going to challenge the status quo so they don't become stagnant or they don't end up settling for less than rising to their full potential. The world is constantly adapting and changing, and as a black belt leader, you've got to do the same. Now, the third area of focus when it comes to preparing for the next season in life is developing resilience. Now, resilience is important because as a leader, you can and you will experience setbacks and failure. That's a part of success because if you can't stomach failure, you're never really going to know success. That I talk about in my book, Black Belt Leadership. And resilience means that you practice the number one principle from that book, and that's this: successful people do daily what unsuccessful people do sometimes or not at all. And we do that in good times and in bad times. We do that when we move forward. We do that when we find ourselves stuck. And we do that when we find ourselves failing. We keep doing what successful people do. And one of those things is learning. Yes, you and I are going to experience setbacks and failures in life. That's a part of the circle of life that we go through. But resilience is cultivated when you and I take the time to face those challenging times with determination and a willingness to learn, so that we've learned the lesson that setback and failure is teaching us, so that you and I are better prepared to face the challenges of life tomorrow. Now, the fourth impact area is impact. If you're looking to prepare for seasonal change, you've got to be willing to make an impact. Remember this: people do what people see. And as a leader, you're out front. You're in the forefront. People are watching you. They're listening to what you say, they're hearing what you speak, and they're seeing what you do. So you're going to set the example for what is expected of those that are following you, both by what you say and, more importantly, by what you do. And let me also say that it is important that what you say and what you do are congruent, that they are in alignment. Because if what you do is different than what you say, what you do is going to speak louder than what you say. Black belt leaders also strive to make a positive impact in the lives of other people and in their local community. Now, the last area of focus as you're looking to prepare for seasonal change is fostering legacy. Black belt leaders understand, as good as they are, they're not going to be here forever. And all of the knowledge and wisdom that they've garnered and collected over the years they've been on this earth are there for one reason, and that is to equip and train those who will one day take your place. We understand that there are seasons in life, and you and I are going to experience every single one of those. But we are going to focus on preparing and developing the next generation of leaders so they can deploy and build upon what we've learned so that they can take what we've done and make it better in the seasons that follow. So, what do you need to do to build legacy? Well, you need to be sharing your knowledge. You need to be sharing your wisdom. You need to be sharing your life experience with those around you so they can get the shortcut of learning the lessons you've learned through life without having to go through all the ups and downs and challenges and slips and falls and mess ups. They can learn the lessons we've learned without having to experience all the failure we've experienced. Can you see how valuable that is in preparing the next generation of leaders to lead? Remember, your role as a leader is to equip and train the leaders who will one day take your place. We want to empower the up and coming next generation leaders so they can build upon the foundation of our work when we're gone. But that only happens when we hold nothing back and we pour everything that we have into the lives of those men and women that we are preparing right now so that we can one day work ourselves out of a job and allow those men and women to step into what's next, that next season for them. When we do that, what are we doing? We're creating a lasting legacy of relentlessly pursuing excellence, not only in our own lives, but teaching and training those who are following to do the same. Even as we're preparing for what's next, part of our responsibility as a leader is to prepare those who are following us for their what's next as well. So remember this, seasons come and seasons go. This season, rightly used, is going to prepare you and those around you for what's next. So I want to challenge you to make the most of the season that you are in right now. Take full advantage of this time, of this moment right now, and fully leverage the opportunity that's before you. Leave no stone unturned to learn everything you can learn, to become the very best version of yourself that you can become, becoming a world-class master of who you are and what you do in this season, because that is preparing you for the changing of seasons in your life. Seasons come, seasons go, but the wise man, the wise woman, the black belt leader prepares for the season ahead. I'm Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and I want to say thanks for joining me. Have a great day.